Hello, everybody. This is Card Guy Chris Ellis,
With Collectible Chris.
and we are here to talk to you about today.
Been a long time coming. We've been saying that we were gonna do a top five list, so we're gonna do top five. Basically WWE, WCW, or any wrestler period best transitional period. So this could be from when they were just managers to wrestlers, or even just a transition in their career. So there's many options, and of course, I did a full page, and I really couldn't decide because there have been a lot of good transitions in wrestling period. So, but first off, we gotta talk about sports. Congratulations to the South Carolina women's basketball team and the UConn men's basketball team for winning their respective tournaments. South Carolina, tremendous effort throughout their whole tournament, as well as UConn. UConn, being how UConn does, have a horrible season, win their division, and then win the whole tournament. So,
Yep, done it twice like this. So, yep, they're definitely. But yeah, congratulations to them. Also, congratulations. Today is April 15th as we're speaking. Happy Jackie Robinson Day. Also, if you don't know what today is about, just go and look up Jackie Robinson or look up articles on who Jackie Robinson is and what the Negro League players did in the past. So we're definitely on this top five list. There'll probably be differences in how we're going to do these, but we'll go ahead and start with the young sir and his number one.
oh, we're doing number one?
Or number five, I'm sorry.
Number five. Okay. I'm going with the TNA guy with my number five. Former TNA, now a producer in WWE. I'm going with Mr. Bobby Roode for transitional period from when he was Beer Money to what he became as the It Factor. If y'all don't know, Bobby Roode won his first world title by placing a beer bottle at the back of the head of James Storm. James Storm was only TNA World Champion for literally 1 week. Defended the championship against Bobby. Bobby became champion, and then he went into a transition. He always had the curly, wet hair. Then he just cut it off, and the Bobby Roode that you see in the background in WWE is him today. Longest title reign, TNA at that point at 259 days, surpassed AJ Styles. And a big thing about Bobby during his time as the It Factor was that he had 3 5-star matches. He had a 5-star match against Kurt Angle at Sacrifice. He had a 5-star match against Jeff Hardy, and he also had a 5-star match against AJ Styles. The only time a TNA wrestler actually was guaranteed 5-star matches during the era in like late 2000s. You really didn't late 2000s, early 2010s. You really didn't see so much 5-star matches, and the fact that it came from a TNA was really impressive, as well as and of course his 259 day is the second longest title reign now in TNA history, behind Josh Alexander, who has held it for 339 days. Yeah. And Roode was always a tag team specialist. I mean, America's Most Wanted with Chris Harris, and then of course Beer Money with James Storm. You actually see him as a singles competitor, and he went from that tag specialist mid-card guy to the actual main eventer. So, number 5, Bobby Roode.
All right, my number 5 is going to go a little bit way back, a little bit more 80s. This guy was known for a finishing maneuver later by 3 initials. It was known as the DDT.
Okay.
The creator of the DDT. And this guy was known before the Snake Mantra. We're talking about Jake Roberts. His finishing maneuver, if no one remembers, very early on was the high leg kick,
high knee lift.
He was pretty much a transitional wrestler, pretty much in the fact that he wasn't like a big heel or big face in the NWA days, though he did have his run with the Legion of Doom and Paul Ellering during that time. But once Jake became to the WWF, WWE, he got the moniker Jake the Snake Roberts, and then we know, of course, Damien and everything. We know the snake and the snake bag. We know the runs he had, but also he was probably one of the best psychological wrestlers in that he could cut a promo, and he wasn't angry or he wasn't yelling at somebody. He was just telling them, calmly what was going to happen and what was going to be done. So yeah, I'm gonna say Jake as my number 5. Transition from being Jake Roberts to Jake the Snake Roberts.
I like that. I didn't even think about that. That's a good number 5, Dad. Number 4, really kick stop the Monday Night Wars. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Scott Hall, who basically went from Razor Ramon to the Outsider. So like Scott Hall, tremendous performer. I mean, him being machismo. Say hello to Razor Ramon. Like, great worker. Of course, everyone knows the ladder match with Shawn Michaels. Everyone that he worked with, Goldust, Bret Hart, even Diesel, his best friend in real life, and also his really great friend and tag team partner throughout his whole life. And really just the fact that he just continued to be that guy on the mic. He always had great mic skills, a great talker, and like he would always pump up the crowd even when he was in WO. I mean, we are about to take a survey. Are you here to see WCW or are you here to see the NWO? He just carried it. And honestly, without Scott Hall being the start of that forerun of just wrestlers jumping from WWE to WCW, it's really the kickstart of NWO. And really, without Scott Hall, there won't be no Hollywood Hogan. This is why I kept Hollywood Hogan off the list, because without Scott Hall pushing forward, Hogan probably would have still been a babyface without being a heel. So Hogan really wanted to be a heel at the time, if y'all see the interviews, but he didn't have an opportunity until the night at Bash at the Beach with that 6-man tag. So really, transitional period, Razor Ramon to one half of the Outsiders.
That's a good one. Number 4 is a tag team.
Ooh.
They wrestled in the 80s predominantly, was known as a very violent tag team, and then they become a lovable tag team when they go to the WWF. I am talking about the Sheep Herders, a.k.a. the Bushwhackers. If you look at the Sheep Herders in the 80s, they had some violent feuds with the Rock and Roll Express. Very violent feuds, very bloody matches. Some of the they did a bunch of damage. And with other tag teams too, not just with the Rock and Roll Express. And then they became the lovable, huggable, lick your head. Let's knock you on your noggin, squeeze your noggin, and do the and get thrown out of and get clothesline out of the ring quicker than poor old Santino. But
I wasn't ready.
So, I'm going with the. Of course, the Sheep Herders on multiple times were a really good tag team. When they became WWE, they became more lovable, more friendly. Obviously, they were the good guys there. So, I'll basically go with that. And that way, I'm going with the Sheep Herders, a.k.a. the Bushwhackers at number 4.
I forgot about that too. Godly. All right. Number 3, honestly, my favorite period is going to be the Attitude Era. I grew up watching the Attitude Era, and really, the franchise had to be on this list. Of course, I'm talking about the Dead Man himself, going from The Undertaker to the American Badass or Big Evil. He really, when you think of 90s WWF, WWE, you think of the actual gimmicks. The Repo Man, trash garbage guy. I mean, just a lot of bad gimmicks. And Mark Calloway did phenomenal as The Undertaker, and just the fact that he wanted evolution in a way that it could fit him and his personality. I mean, he was always a motorcycle guy. He didn't mind wearing black all the time, so it really helped out to where he can just transition into just a trench coat, a bandana, and sunglasses. So it worked out for him. I mean, he was able to talk more in the late 90s, but you actually got to see how he can be with his personality. I mean, chewing tobacco and everything. It showed that he had more length and more width to his character. I mean, yeah, eventually he goes back to being the dead man, but I mean, with the ABA, of course, he introduces the last ride. He tried doing a reverse guillotine choke that he called TCB, taking care of business, and of course he later does the Hell's Gate submission, which was really more phenomenal with his character as the Undertaker. And I mean, you can never forget really with Big Evil. It's really when the WrestleMania streak actually took part to actually mean something. Of course, I'm talking about WrestleMania 19 against Ric Flair. And of course, key rivals were him and Triple H, him and Vince McMahon, Stone Cold, him against Angle. And he really helped push Jeff Hardy and John Cena with their careers. And of course, we can never forgive him for not doing the Spinner Rooney. So,
yeah, probably my favorite taker's always been the Big Evil / American Badass. So,
and of course, multiple theme songs where Limp Bizkit with Roland. I will always like "We're Gonna Pay." I think that was just a great song, and of course, Kid Rock's "American Badass." I mean, you can't go wrong with any of them theme songs, but "You're Gonna Pay" will always be one of my favorites.
Okay. Oh, I got my number 3. Okay, my number 3 is still somewhat 80s, but he's been through the 80s, 90s, the 10s, and even still now. This man started officially as a ring crew guy, then went to be an official, then went to being a manager, then went to being a GM and a manager and a GM. So I think and also this man was also known as Peanut Head for a moment. I'm going to talk about Theodore R. Long, or Teddy Long. Also the Mad Dancer of SmackDown, and also you will go one-on-one
with The Undertaker.
So Teddy's done a lot in the sport. I mean, it helped out. I mean, Dusty heard Teddy speak and helped him become manager. I will never forget when he turned as a referee, turned against the Road Warriors. That he had some. He managed some great talent. Some easier than others. But I mean, you can't say that Teddy hasn't been some part of along the way, has been some part of wrestling somewhere. You know, he does stuff with Memphis Wrestling. He'll go there and do some stuff there. He's done stuff with other organizations, but also we always know, him as the SmackDown GM.
Holla, holla, holla.
Yep. Here comes the little Mac. He's coming, So I gotta say 3 is Teddy.
And of course, we both met Teddy last year at the Jackson Con in Mississippi. I mean, great human being. It was awesome to meet him in person. I mean, he really is the character that he played on TV. Just a very humble human being. So I almost put him or even Paulie Dangerously on my top 5. But I mean, of course, my guys were like more of a stamp on history than like transition. But I will agree to that though, because I did have Teddy Long on my long list, so I can't argue with that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so my number 2.
Yep.
Arguably, well, actually, it can be argued just because of how it is portrayed, but modern day era, he could be compared to Hulk Hogan. Just because of how much he has meant to the business and how much he grew as a performer, as a wrestler, and as considerably one of the best talents in the whole wrestling organization. I am talking about John Cena, but I am talking about his transition from aggression to Dr. Thugonomics, because he was a guinea pig in his guinea pig stage failed. He talked about this in interviews where it was not working. He would always buy shorts to color match a team from any city that they were performing in, and then all it took was an overseas tour right before cuts, and he was doing freestyling with Rikishi, Rey Mysterio, and Stephanie McMahon caught on. And it's because of Stephanie that Cena kept his job and then turned into the star he was meant to be. And he still did the team thing, but he went to jerseys and to a freestyling rap, and just the fact that he was always a good talent, but then when he actually put his improv skills with the rhyming and the freestyling that he did, it showed that he had more than just potential. He was geared to be a main event star. And it couldn't just be skills, he had to show it too. So his rivalries with Eddie Guerrero, especially the parking lot brawl, a Big Show, his matches with Brock Lesnar, even though he was considerably not as strong as Brock, he still showed that he can hang with the toughest son of a gun at that time. Matches with Kurt Angle, he started his career with Kurt. I mean, everyone knows that debut against Kurt Angle, he showed what he could do. So, just the fact that he was an experiment, and then he turned into the megastar he is today, and I mean, still 22 years later, he can make a pop out of WrestleMania and still have a moment, and he still matters to the business. Like, everyone knocked on Cena, and he said, people say he can't wrestle. Well, go watch old OVW tapes, go watch early 2000 SmackDown. Cena was a guy that could be a potential star, and of course he rose far and beyond what he could actually do. I mean, he is considered today's Hulk Hogan, and he had great matches, of course, with Angle, great rivalry with Edge, Orton, and of course matches with Shawn Michaels, Triple H. I mean, the whole list goes on.
Yeah, I mean, Cena definitely, this Thuganomics, I think I like this Thuganomics probably the most of all of it. You know, of course, he always had Super Cena. So,
what was it? 05 to 07 Cena.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree with that one.
Let's see, my number 2 would have to be, well, let's just say this guy went from flying to being crazy in the 80s and the 90s. Now, let's talk about the little man that could on a football field. Let's talk about Brian Pillman. In the 80s, he was known as Flying Brian Pillman because he was a high flyer. Probably one of the best young high flyers. Anybody wants to look at any match, him and Jushin Liger had some great matches, period. He had some good matches with Ric Flair. Had a great match with Luger.
For the U.S. belt.
Yeah, did some great things, and then he had a terrible accident, and he had to become more grounded and more of a brawler type guy with getting in your mind. We all, of course, know what happened to Brian. The man was beyond his years in doing wrestling. If he could have stayed the Flying Brian that he was, it'd have been cool. I think he would have been great. He would have been like one of the. I mean, he would have been up there as high flyers go. But I mean, he had the whole package. I mean, he was cut. He was lean. He could wrestle if he needed to. He showed that he could do that on several occasions. When he went to WWE and ECW, was totally different type of Brian. Everybody remembers him taking on the pencil at ECW, and then of course you got him and Stone Cold, and what probably propelled Stone Cold a little bit more in that whole thing was when Pillman got to WWE. Of course, no one will ever forget the gun incident, which they had to apologize for and stuff like that. But basically, it was ratings gold for him. So yeah, I'm putting Brian Pillman at number 2.
I can't disagree with that. I had him on my list as well. I mean, like you said, we can go back and forth on this because like it's how we see it, and I agree with Pillman. With just being Fly Brian to the loose cannon.
Yeah.
So and of course this wonderful tag team with Steve Austin being the Hollywood Blonde. So.
Oh yeah, you got that, and you got Pillman when he was a horseman, and you got, too. So.
And if he actually stayed Flying Brian, can you imagine the matches with Eddie and Ray at that WCW time?
Oh, that would have been, or Psychosis, or any of those guys.
Oh, him and La Parka.
Yeah, that would have. Yeah.
Loose Cannon versus Chairman.
Yep.
All right, so number one. My number one pick is very controversial. But without him, especially in the 90s, without him in multiple parts of WWE, I'm pretty sure it would have died. My number one transitional guy is Vince McMahon. The reason why I say this, yes, we always knew he was the boss. Yes, we always knew that. But he was a commentator turned into the boss. And, of course, it started off with the after the steel cage match with Bret Hart just shouting at Vince, just telling him that this is bullshit. So just the fact that Vince had to transition during the Monday Night Wars just so the ratings could get in the favor of WWE. And then he would insert himself into storylines. I mean, now, of course, he was the higher power with the Ministry of Darkness, which was the stupidest thing during the Attitude Era, in my opinion. It's worse than the freaking hand. Yeah, but we could thank Stone Cold for the bedpan, and you could just play it back over and over again, going ding, ding. But I mean, just the fact that the rivalries during that time too just helped compelled his character as the boss as well as being the authority in WWE. It really helped, especially his rivalry with Stone Cold. It cemented that he is the boss and he had to take control, which helped out. And of course, his rivalry with The Rock, Mankind. Of course, Bret Hart with the Montreal Screwjob. And then, of course, you get into 2000s DX. And, of course, his... you could have put this as the transition to like Bandana McMahon when he became his ECW champion. But even his rivalry with Lashley, it was great. It was good ratings for TV. He was always the guy that was just commentator, would always introduce WrestleMania. Yes, he is controversial. Yes, he has been put through a lot of lawsuits and legal trouble as well. But at the end of the day, without Vincent Kennedy McMahon, WWE wouldn't stand where it is today, and his daughter and his son-in-law could not carry out the legacy that he left behind. And Paul Triple H Levesque, he doesn't need to fill shoes. He's carrying the damn torch. Pardon the French.
All right. My number one guy, I could have went with Taker, Sting, Hulk Hogan, Lex Luger at one point. But I'm going to go with a guy that was a manager. And he is probably the oldest person to ever win a world championship as a rookie. And he's known for 3 initials, one heck of a diamond cutter.
The original RKO.
And, yep. And if you don't know who Diamond Dallas Page is,
just look up DDP Yoga.
Well, don't call it yoga. It's DDPY. But this man, he managed Scott Hall when he was the Diamond Stud. He managed. He was in the AWA with Bischoff. He had the Diamond Gals. Then he became a heel, basically. Him and Bruce B. Big Booty Daddy. We had a little run against each other in WCW, and then he got the ring, and then he became Diamond Dallas Page, and him and Macho Man Randy Savage probably had one of probably the best rivalries in WCW. If not one of the best, well, at least the whole thing. I mean, everything meshed in that. That was two perfect storms together. I think you can't say a lot of later WCW without having DDP in the conversation, because he was in that mix. Even with the triad, if they could have kept the triad going a little bit longer and a little bit better, I think it would have been better, along with Canyon and Bam Bam. I think Bam Bam is probably one of the most underrated big men the wrestling sports ever seen. But you also got to take a look at what DDP's also done later in his life. He's helped out Scott Hall before he died. He's Jake Roberts. He's helping out Butterbean right now. Buff Bagwell, he's helping out. So I mean, he's doing good for a lot of people, especially now that and he deserves all the accolades and everything he's gotten. I don't think anybody can say a bad thing about what Diamond's doing right now. I mean, when you got the Undertaker saying he probably needs to go get some stretching in with Diamond because he's so sore from wrestling, But I mean, Diamond did it at an age where most wrestlers would never even began. I mean, he started around 35, or probably a little over 35. I don't think he started right at 35 years old wrestling. But I mean, going to the power plant and still doing what he did. And then he had some amazing him and Goldberg had one of the best matches for a title. It was too bad that WCW and the powers that were there at the time that the match got cut off and people didn't get to see the ending of it. And I mean, you look at it, I mean, you just look at it all total picture. I think DDP's definitely up there. I'm giving him number one spot just because of what he has done, what he did, where he came from, what he's done, and what he has done to what he's accomplished even after the fact of pro wrestling. So that's my 5 through 1.
Well, I did have a DDP in the transition as the stalker to the inspirationalist. So.
Oh, well, we can't forget his little run in WWE. I mean, the stalker gimmick was bad. Yeah. I would have rather had him and The Rock go against each other.
Oh Lord, just because of the mic skills there, because like Dad knows I'm a big DDP guy, so I mean, just the fact that I didn't even realize how old he was until like years ago when he actually first started. I'm like, holy crap! And he did all that in his 40s.
Yeah.
So it's like when you watch late 90s DDP, especially the rivalry with Macho, like he did stuff that no young 40 guy would possibly do. I mean, for his style, because you can say that DDP's a technician brawler.
He had technical skills.
So, like, he was fluid in the ring, and he made Goldberg look good. And, I mean, I agree with that. It was one of the best title matches in the late 90s for sure. Talk about the one at Mayhem, right? It wasn't Halloween Havoc, was it?
It might have been Havoc.
Oh, that's right.
Havoc.
Yeah, it was the year after Mysterio and Guerrero. But, like, DDP did a lot. I mean, long reign as U.S. champ. Like, him and Booker had great matches. I mean,
that 7-way.
Yeah. Now him with, and of course, it was the one true WCW guy that never joined NWO.
Nope.
Probably the only WCW guy that never joined NWO.
Well, no, Booker didn't either.
Booker didn't either.
Booker didn't. 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 Booker didn't
Oh yeah, because his brother did. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
What Rick Steiner never did it either.
technically, you're right. He never wore it.
He never wore the
Wore the
Wolfpack.
Yeah.
So yeah, a few more. But when I'm thinking WCW originals, DDP is probably the only one that never did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, when he put on the shirt, he diamond cut everybody.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So I agree with your number one. I do see that. So
So yeah, but
Yeah.
I got nothing else. If you don't got anything else yet,
congratulations to Jackson Holiday again, his first hit in Major League. I'm glad you're called up, but your teammate is probably got to win Rookie of the Year. So, actually, before we go, I got a few baseball questions for you.
okay.
All right,
Okay.
all right. Car guys, baseball honesty. First few weeks of the season. You ready to go for question one?
Sure.
Most impressive talent that has showed up this season.
Ooh, I have to go Kowser right now.
Okay,
Kowser for Baltimore. Okay.
all right. Team that is right now the most disappointing to watch. And it doesn't have to be due to talent.
Well, I'll just say this. I think the White Sox are the most. And I think,
Them losing Robert Down out.
yeah. So I'm gonna go with the White Sox on that one.
Okay. Team you are surprising on how they're doing at this time.
Well, I think we both said Milwaukee and Pittsburgh would do okay.
And they're just doing terrific.
I think right now it's surprised me about the Padres a little bit about them. I don't think they're as good as Arizona or as good as. Well, no, I'll take that back. I think the Giants. I think the Giants are really surprising
Okay.
because the way that their pitching staff and the way their hitters are coming. It's like, I mean, they do have some big name hitters, but they don't.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
like
go with Giants. I go with Giants.
It's like the 2012 to 2015 Royals. You really didn't know who was hitting.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Detroit's having a good year right now. They're leading the division, I believe.
They are.
So I mean, and if they get Casey Mize going, I mean that pitching staff's just going to be even scarier because that Central Division's just. I won't say it's a joke, but it's just bad.
Fair enough. Out of all first place teams, and hold up.
As of right now, right?
As of right now.
As of the 15th
All
of
right.
April.
So New York is first in the AL East. Detroit is third, 9-6.
Okay.
Cleveland's technically up.
Okay, so Cleveland's by a game. Okay.
Texas is still number one at 8-8. NL Atlanta 9-5. Central it's now Milwaukee 10-4.
Yep.
And the Dodgers are up 11-7. So out of the first place teams, which one do you think will have a letdown struggle?
Ooh.
Oh yeah. I have my opinion.
I think it's going to be Cleveland if they don't get a pitcher because they lost Bieber.
Yep, I do agree with that.
I think Cleveland might have a little bit of a letdown. They need to get another pitcher. Yeah, I think they need to get another pitcher. I really do. I mean, for them, a lot of the teams in the Central are young and coming up. The only one that's not really scary to anybody is the White Sox, and everybody else I think has a pretty good record right now in the Central, if I remember right.
Minnesota is fourth at 6-8.
Okay, so they're 2 games below 500.
But Chicago only has 2 wins.
Yeah, exactly. And Minnesota could get those 2 games back quickly if they wanted to.
Yeah, it's sad to say that Oakland is third in their division and Chicago is dead last.
Yeah.
Oakland, I'm happy for you. I'll go ahead and say that right now. Y'all finally have a closer.
They have some good. They use some players on that team. They do.
My team is the Rangers. I think the Rangers will hit a slump soon, and it's not due to the fact of the Rangers. It's due to the fact of the Angels. I think the Angels will actually take over that division. Miguel Sano having a good comeback year so far. Drury's hitting well. Their bullpen's amazing.
Yeah. They did make a lot of changes to their team. Yeah, they did.
And Ron Washington, I didn't know you were the manager of the Angels. I'm happy for you. You were great in Atlanta. And, of course, you were great as the Rangers manager as well. So I'm happy for you. I wish you success. I will say that right now.
I think, you got to just look at, the Rangers have that, they're still, getting off that high of winning the World Series. So
Yeah.
let them have a couple of weeks. They're not going to have everybody back. I mean, Young's hurt. But, they're still a young team. And they got a good manager. And that manager's not going to let them falter. So,
Yeah, I think we both can say that Kaiser is definitely a player that people should start collecting now just because of the start that he had.
well, yeah, the hot start's definitely going to help. There's several guys.
Strand is killing it in Cincy.
Yeah. So definitely certain guys. But you got anything else?
No, that was it.
All right, I got nothing else. So we'll definitely see you guys next week. Enjoy your Happy Jackie Robinson Day. And I am Card Guy Chris Ellis.
And I'm Collectible Chris.
And we will be talking to you next week. Bye.